Son overheard my entitled wife yelling. She regretted not aborting my son and marrying me. Now she claims it was my fault. Demands I make our son talk to her. Falsely reports me for DV. Gets me kicked out of my house. Uses her friends to harass me. And now is having a breakdown after I divorced her and my son disowned her. Hi. So yeah, I think my wife is single-handedly the cause of every problem in her life. And I'm done. I'm done pretending I'm the reason things are the way they are. Done with the marriage, with the trying, and just done with her. I see divorce coming at me like a sunrise, and honestly, it's a relief. I met her in college. I was 21 and she was 20. We were good together back then, smart, motivated, and having plans. Nothing felt rushed, but we were serious. I proposed when I was 23, she was 22. Yeah, young. I get that. But we didn't marry right away. We waited until I was 26 and she was 25. Thought we were being smart about it. Thought we were building a life. She got pregnant a year before we got married at 24. I remember that conversation like it was yesterday. I told her I was ready if she was, but if she wasn't, I supported whatever choice she wanted to make. I made it clear no pressure from me. She chose to have the baby. Our son was born a few months before we got married. We were living in a great setup. My aunt and uncle own a second home they don't use, and they let us live there. All we had to do was pay for utilities and groceries. It gave us a huge financial edge. So, I told her she could go back to work, pursue her degree, field, or whatever she wanted. I could afford a long-term sitter. But she said no, she wanted to stay home and be with the baby full-time. I didn't argue. I figured, great, that bond is important. Then postpartum hit. She didn't bond with him. Barely touched him. I'd come home from working 10-hour days and take over entirely, feeding, changing, and putting him to sleep. She just checked out. At first, I thought it was baby blues. Then, I realized it was something deeper. I told her to see a therapist. Begged her to actually, but she refused. She said she was fine and I was overreacting. So, for almost 2 years, it was me doing everything, working full-time, managing bills, and caring for our son. When I was home, I had to hire a sitter. Anyway, because she couldn't handle being alone with him for more than a couple of hours. And yeah, at first I had sympathy, but then it just turned into resentment. I'd ask her to do anything, bathe him, play with him for 30 minutes so I could shower, and she'd act like I was attacking her. We started fighting constantly. Every time I'd bring up how exhausted I was and how unfair this was, it turned into a screaming match. I told her plain and simple, get help or I'm gone. I said if she didn't want to go to therapy or didn't want to try, she could go back to her parents and they made it very clear they wouldn't take her back. She finally did something. She got a job. Not in her degree field. Not anything related to what she used to say she was passionate about. No, she went to work at a convenience store. The kind of place where 90% of the day is spent sitting behind a counter. Look, I didn't even argue at that point. I was so checked out. I didn't care where she worked. I just needed something to change. She stayed at that job. We basically became roommates. No intimacy, no conversations beyond logistics and our son. We slept in the same bed, but it might as well have been opposite sides of the house. There was no affection, no love, just existing side by side, going through the motions. Our son's 17 now, and I'm just finished. He's about to be an adult. He's got college coming up, all of it covered, thanks to me and his grandparents. He's a good kid, mature and focused. He sees what's been going on. He's seen it for years. He's never been blind to it. So, a couple months ago, I told her, I'm done. Fully done. When our son leaves, I'm leaving. I told her I'd been holding this whole thing together out of obligation, but I'm not dragging myself through it anymore. I expected her to be upset, but she snapped. Called me worthless. She said she hated ever meeting me and marrying me and that she regretted ever having our son. And then the words that killed everything. I should have gotten the abortion when I had the chance. The silence that followed was suffocating. I don't even remember what I was about to say next. She said it loud enough for the whole damn house to hear. And our son was home. He came out of his room before I even had a chance to react and said, fine, have it your way. You're not my mother anymore. Go F yourself. Then he turned around and went back to his room. She stood there like a statue. I've never seen her so still. I expected her to scream back or chase after him or even break down crying. But she just stood there like she didn't believe what she just heard. That was 2 months ago. And they haven't spoken since. Not a word. He avoids her like she's radioactive. He's not some dramatic kid. He just completely disconnected. He doesn't acknowledge her when she talks. Doesn't eat if she cooks. Doesn't ride in her car, even if it's more convenient. He works a part-time job, buys his own stuff, and asks me when he needs help with his car or gas or anything else. He's become totally self-sufficient just to avoid her. She's lost her mind over it. First, it was begging, crying, asking me what to do, trying to get me to talk to him. Then, it turned into rage, accusing me of poisoning him against her, telling me I was just using this as an excuse to turn him into my little soldier. She even pulled the he's still just a kid. He doesn't understand what I meant card. Except he's not just a kid. He's 17. He's smart. He's emotionally aware. And he's had a front row seat to this miserable marriage his whole life. He remembers the years when she refused to get out of bed, when she wouldn't hold him, when she wouldn't even try. I never talked badly about her to him, not once. But he's not blind. I told her this was a consequence. You don't say SHT like that if you're not prepared to deal with the fallout. She tried to backpedal. Said she didn't mean it and said it was just in the heat of the moment. But those words aren't something you just throw out in a fight. They come from somewhere deep, and once they're out, you can't unsay them. She keeps trying to guilt me. Says it's my job to fix this. That I should sit him down and make him talk to her. But I told her flat out no. I didn't break that relationship. She did. If he ever chooses to forgive her, that's his call. I'm not going to manipulate him into pretending he's okay just so she can feel better about herself. She didn't like that answer. She called her friends her little echo chamber, and now they've been messaging me telling me I'm a piece of SHT, that I'm a cold husband, that I'm weaponizing our son to get back at her, that I should have made her get therapy or should have done more to support her, that she was the one struggling and I just abandoned her emotionally. I've heard it all. But the truth is, I tried for years. I supported her staying home, supported her getting a job, supported her not getting therapy, and supported her taking her sweet time finding herself. I cooked, cleaned, paid every bill, raised our son, put up with the silence, the cold shoulders, and the lack of affection. I stuck it out longer than most would have. And in the end, she nuked the last thing she had left, her son's love. So, Reddit, here's where I'm at. I know I'm done with this marriage. That's not a question. Divorce is coming the second our son goes off to college. And I've made peace with that. But am I the asshole for not forcing my son to talk to her? For not pushing him to forgive her just because she regrets opening her damn mouth? Comments. Comment 1. Why ta? Not for being done with the marriage. It sounds like it was over a long time ago, but for how you handled it. You strung her along for years while emotionally checking out. Just waiting until your son turned 18 so you could leave. That's calculated. You let her live in limbo knowing you were done. If she was a mess, she needed support or a clear end, not quiet resentment while you betted your time. Comment 2. Honestly, Uda for using this whole situation like a gotcha. Your wife had a breakdown and said something horrible. Yes, but if she's been struggling with PPD and mental health for years, what you call a moment of clarity might have been an emotional crisis. Instead of helping her fix things with your son, you're using it to finally walk away guilt-free. Feels manipulative. Comment 3. NTA. But please divorce already and kick her out of your uncle's house. She doesn't deserve to benefit from the generosity of your family after all this. I grew up in a home with parents who were basically cold roommates. It screws with your emotional baseline. Add explosive fights and verbal abuse. That's trauma. Your son deserves peace. You do, too. Close this chapter. And please, therapy for both of you. It'll help unpack all the SHT you buried to survive this long. Comment 4. NTA. She's the one who said that vile SHT. That's on her. Not a bad moment. Not just words, but something she meant enough to say out loud. I get your son completely. I wouldn't forgive that either. Keep showing him that you never regretted having him. He needs to feel that love right now. And as for her friends, they can go piss up a rope, let them take her in, and deal with the mess she made if they care so much.